What's good, y'all? Sorry about that. I just wanted to start my stream or my video like as awkwardly and weirdly as possible, and I felt like staring directly into your soul. It was gonna accomplish that. But what is happening, my otherworlders out there? What's good, y'all? Otherworldly, as y'all know in the thumbnail, as y'all see in these pictures, as y'all see in the description, we're about to get into some KIGO famlesh, some KIGO fan fiction. KIGO all day, every day. The long awaited video. I've been promising this for y'all, and here we go. So stay tuned. We're about to have a really nice discussion about this ship. Let's get into it. What's happening, y'all? It's finally time to discuss this ship. I've been dying to discuss this ship, man, but I feel like I can't do fan fictions, talk about fan fictions every freaking day, because then I'm gonna run out of fan fiction. So I'm kind of trying to figure out a schedule when I can do fan fiction, when I can do gaming, but I think it's finally time, y'all, to talk about Shego, Chemo, Kigo, and that is, as we all see and as we all know, hopefully y'all know, is the ship name for Kim and Shego from the Disney show Kim Possible. Call me, beat me if you want to beat me. We all know Kim Possible. Come on now. Like I don't even know. I don't even know if I've met anybody who doesn't know the show Kim Possible. Like Kim Possible is one of those goats that's like up there, like in the Disney show like categories. Like it's one of those shows that everybody knew, everybody saw, everybody grew up with. Like it was one of those like epic ass shows. And whew, man, my heart when it ended. But man, it definitely left us with some good impressions, some good characters, and a lot of material for fan fiction. Honestly, Kim Possible is one of the biggest. It's up there. I don't want to say it's the biggest or one of the biggest, but it's definitely up there with like a lot of really big fan fiction communities. It has a really big fan fiction community. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. KIGO is one of the fan fictions that I go to whenever I'm like I want to revisit something. Like it doesn't matter if I've read all their stories. Like I'll revisit it like 2 years later, a year later. Like whenever I'm like, damn, I don't know what to read. Let me read some KIGO. Along with Swan Queen and Supercorp, KIGO is up there for me. So it kind of sucks because I feel like every fan fiction I talk to on the show is like I love. Like I haven't talked about any one of them that I dislike yet. And the thing is that, as I said in my other videos, I have a soft spot for enemies to friends to lovers. Like I just have a soft spot for that. Like I love that storyline of two characters hating each other or being rivals or whatever, and then falling into kind of like a friendship or camaraderie and then falling in love. Like I really really love that storyline. So as we all know, Shigo and Kim, man, let's talk about these characters. So we got Kim Possible, the little bubble butt. I think that's what her mom, Kim's mom used to call her, like bubble butt, I think it was. But so we got Kim, we got the heroine, the protagonist of the TV show Kim Possible. This girl, she goes out there into the world. She's basically a vigilante in a way, quote unquote. She's kind of like a vigilante for hire, but she does things for free, so you don't gotta pay Kim Possible. Yo, that right there is one of the biggest traits that I've always loved about this the character, her character of Kim Possible's character. I felt like she's literally going out there risking her life to save the world basically for no reason. And she says it doesn't matter if the threat is big or small. Like if you reach out to her for help, she'll go and help you. She's the leader of Team Possible, which consists of her long-term best friend slash boyfriend, Ron Stoppable, and his little sidekick, little mole rat, little naked mole rat, my boy Rufus. Man, I should have put a picture of Rufus on here somewhere because that little mole rat is adorable. So we got Kim Possible. So she, like I said, she's a heroine protagonist. always looking to help people, always looking to kick ass. She is. I don't think I remember in the show if they ever actually explained how the hell she got so good at kicking ass. Like Kim Possible, she knows how to fight. She's a cheerleader at her school, but that's not enough to say, well, I know how to fight. But you got Kim Possible. She's literally like, she knows like all these kind of moves. Like she knows how to fight, kickboxing, whatever it is. Like I don't remember if they ever actually fully explained like how she picked up on all these skills, because when the show started, it was like off rip, she was kicking ass. So that's one of the things I kind of wish they would have like kind of integrated a little bit into the show, a little background on how Kim got so fucking good at fighting, like so fucking good. She's literally like she's the person that she has enough assurance in herself that she goes out there to fight all these villains. We got Draken, we got Motor Ed, D and Amy, senior junior. Who are the other big baddies in Kim Possible? Who? Then we obviously got Shego. Come on now, and this is where it gets good. Now we got Shego. She is basically the main antagonist, one of the main antagonists. And I think she's honestly the main antagonist, because her and Kim have squabbled from beginning to end of the show. Like Kim hasn't fought anybody as much as she fought Shego. Like, because Draken, I want to say Draken was the main antagonist. He was the main villain for Kim Possible and her team. He was always coming up with schemes. And as we know, Draken is like the blue scientist guy who was obsessed with taking over the world. And then he had Shego as his sidekick, or kind of like his bodyguard. Shego was the enforcer. She was the one that kind of like watched his back, and she was making hella money making it. All the fan fictions that I've read about KIGO, like they always make a point in saying that Shego was making bank working for Draken. Like she was literally making bank. And a little bit on her history, obviously it was revealed to us during the show. Spoiler alert, please click off the video if you haven't seen Kim Possible and you don't want to be spoiled. Please click off the video and then come back, because you're gonna miss some good stuff. But a little bit of Shigo's background is that we found out that she was actually a hero back in the day. Her and her brothers, she has 4 brothers, two twins and one older brother, one kind of medium brother. I think Shego was the second oldest. So it was KIGO, Shego, Migo, and the Wigos, which was the twins. But so she has 4 brothers, and we come to find out that her and her brothers got struck by a meteor. It was like a colorful meteor. They were playing one day in their treehouse, and just like every other day, every other Tuesday, a freaking colorful ass meteor comes crashing to the treehouse, and that is how they ended up getting their superpowers. Then eventually they formed a team of Team Go, which is how they got their names: the Shego, Migo, Higo, Wigos. Go 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 go. So they formed a superhero team. A lot of things happened. We don't really get a lot of information on why Shego decided to kind of turn evil. I think it was like, I don't know if she was bored, or like it's just like she was the most powerful of her team, because her brothers and her, obviously they had different superpowers. I think Higo has super strength. Migo had the ability to like kind of shrink and grow. And the Wigos, they had the ability to multiply, so they will multiply themselves. And then Shego obviously had the plasma ability that we see a lot of in the show. So I think she was definitely the most powerful one. I think she definitely got bored of being a hero, so she decided to become kind of like a villain. But I always saw, personally, as Shego, I always saw her as more of like an anti-hero. Like she didn't necessarily want to do like the goody stuff that Kim Possible was doing, but she also wasn't like I'm gonna be evil, because I feel like Shego had the capabilities of literally taking over the world just by using her plasma powers. Because we're talking about, I've come to learn that Shigo's plasma is hotter than the sun, or it could get as hot as the sun. So it's like she was like wanted in 11 countries, so she was making a name for herself, but she was still decided to kind of follow along with Draken. And as we all know, Draken was basically a failure as a villain. Like that man, he had some good moments, some bad moments, like when he built the BBs. Was it the BBs? Like in that episode where Kim kicks Shego into the tower, like the electrical tower shit. Like, so he has his moments, but I just feel like he was always destined to fail. And I feel like Shego, in a way, and this is something that's like fan fiction and reading stories like has helped me like kind of realized. I feel like Shigo in a way kind of knew that Draken was not going to be able to take over the world. I personally think that she was mostly with him, mostly for the money, obviously, because she wanted the cha-ching, and because she had a chance to fight Kim. Like, now this is where the story gets good, now that we got into a little bit of each character's background. So these two are basically polar opposites. Like, you got Kimmy Goody Two Shoes Kim, and then you got badass Shigo, you know? So these two are polar opposites, and like I said, opposites attract, bro. And it's crazy how you don't see this watching the show the first time. You got to go back and rewatch Kim Possible to see the chemistry between these two. And I feel like that's how a lot of fan fictions came to be, because when these two were squabbling and they were like exchanging blows and shit, like there was always kind of like some weird shit. Like they would be like on top of each other. Other times, like Shigo would be flirting with Kim heavy, and she had like all these different nicknames for Kim, like Kimmy, Pumpkin, Princess, Cupcake, like you name it. Shigo was literally calling, like had all kinds of pet names for Kim. And I know a lot of people will say, well, it was probably just to throw her off or whatever, but I feel like it was just too much, you know? And like I stated, mind you, I just stated something important. Like Shigo's plasma could have easily killed fried Kim into a crispy bacon. And I just realized that's the second time that I said crispy bacon, you know? But anyway, so Shigo had that possibility, but why was Kim never hurt like that? Like, obviously, like, Shigo will kick her ass, but, like, why did she never use her full potential? Like, I feel like Shigo, with her plasma-induced powers and the powers she got from the comet, like, she should have been able to kick Kim's ass, potentially murder her, kill her. And she never did. Why? And a lot of things I read about in fan fiction about these two is that their fighting was always about honor. Like, they respected each other as rivals, basically. Like, Shigo was Kim's rival off rip. It doesn't matter how many other villains Shigo had or Kim had or whatever. Them two were the main rivals of the show. Them two. And this is why their pairing kind of calls to me, because, like I said, I've always liked that how two enemies could potentially turn something like being enemies into lovers. Like, I've always loved that storyline, always. And in every fanfiction I've ever read, it always starts off with like, oh, like Kim and Shego squabbling, hitting each other, but then eventually like something happens that forces them to have to work together for whatever reason, and then feelings come up. Like, those are the kind of fanfictions I love. Like, if you start a fanfiction with me about Kim and Shego, and if off rip they're not enemies, they're just friends or whatever, like, I don't find it as interesting. I like to read from when they were enemies to the story of, you know, them becoming friends or acquaintances and then becoming lovers eventually. That makes for a hell of a story. I'm just a sucker for enemies to lovers story. I'm a sucker. So I'm going to give this ship a fucking 10 out of 10 because I feel like their story would be hella good to turn into. And another thing is that I feel like it would have been so unexpected if these two would have ended up together. Like, it would have been, nobody would have seen it coming. Nobody. And that's why I love that. Like, I feel like I want to be surprised. I want to be caught off guard. I want to be, whoa, what? Because from the beginning, you just knew she was going to end up with Ron. You just knew it because they were fucking best friends from pre-K. And when they turned into teenagers and they started doing that whole thing with fighting villains or whatever, you could see Ron had a crush on Kim. I didn't really pick up much of a crush from Kim's side. I feel like Kim wasn't like really interested in Ron in the beginning. I think her feelings for him kind of, you know, they started up and they were like, you know, growing as the show progressed. But in the beginning, you can hella see that Ron had feelings for Kim. And I feel like, again, like, it was so predictable. It was predictable. You could see it from the very beginning that they were going to end up together. And honestly, I did my research on this because I don't come in here talking to you guys without anything to back it up. But I've done my research on this, and it's literally, everybody says it. Like, when you look at the fandom or you look at like Ron's definition as his character, like, it literally states that he was always meant to be the love interest. And I feel like the show did a hell of a job putting that in our faces from episode 1. So that's why I feel like when they ended up together, I was not even shocked or surprised. I was not. Now, mind you, there was this one time when they went to Yamanoshi, that island of ninjas, and they met Yori, And I think there was like a little spark between Jory and Ron. Jory was like the ninja girl, and Ron. And then at one point, I might have thought like, okay, well, maybe they won't end up together, but then they just stayed friends. So then that again, that showed me, okay, well, yeah, they're saving him for Kim. Like it's obvious. Jory and John and Ron would have made a hell of a better couple. I'm not gonna lie. I just feel like for Kim and Ron, just because you have history doesn't necessarily mean that you need to end up together. Just because you grow up with somebody as a best friend or whatever, or somebody close to you, it doesn't mean that you guys always have to be together or end up together romantically. I think the show would have also benefited for them just staying friends. Like it's just like I just felt like their relationship didn't really need to start. Like I feel like they were just in high school. First of all, they had their whole life ahead of them, on top of the fact that Kim was also getting hounded by global justice. Like Kim had a whole life already, like that she needed to work on. She obviously wanted to continue crime fighting. Then we got Ron, who was, I think he was like good at cooking, a culinary. So it's like I just feel like, let's say they would have made a sequel to Kim Possible, and it was like them in college, and then them in college being together. Then it's like when their life was a little bit more like put together. But I feel like they ended up together like in their senior year of high school, and it was just so awkward. I feel like Ron was like too meek. I feel like he was meek for Kim. He was cool in his own way, because I felt like when he discovered his monkey powers or whatever it was, he became cool. He progressed as a character. But I feel like Kim needed somebody to challenge her. I feel like it was the type of person that needed somebody to keep up with her, to challenge her, to have her back. And I'm not saying Ron can't be that, but I feel like from what I saw on the show, I don't think he was. I feel like Shego would have definitely been the kind of person to have not only made Kim better, but I feel like she would have also pushed Kim to her limits. And I mean in the sense of like bettering herself, getting things done. And also she would have showed Kim like another way of doing things. Like that is not, oh, you got to be all goody two shoes all the time. I could show you how to do this. But I feel like Kim would have been the man in the relationship between her and Ron. Like she would have been the man. She's the one that kicks ass. She's the one that's saving Ron 24/7. She's the one. She would have definitely been the man in the relationship. And I feel like I don't think she needed that. For a strong female character that she was in her own right, like Kim Possible is one of the strongest, toughest female characters in the Disney world, in the Disney Channel world, basically. Like Kim Possible could squabble with basically anybody. And when she got her power suit, forget it. So it's like for a strong female character to have her end up with somebody that was kind of like lame, kind of meek, kind of like save me, Kim. Like it was, I don't know. I didn't really think it was that great. Like I feel like I either would have loved for her to end up with Shego, but I knew that wasn't gonna happen, or I would have loved for her to just be by herself, chilling, being her strong, independent self, and going out there to continue to kick these villains' asses. So I feel like, in the sense of Shego, them two were always flirting. Like, I'm sorry, like Shego was always flirting with Kim, always, always, always. And it's like, just feels like for Shego, it didn't make sense to me why she would use that tactic. Like, you already got the advantage. You got the powers, you got more strength, you got probably more speed, you got your plasma. So it's like, for people to tell me, well, she was using that as a tactic so to get Kim to be sloppy or whatever, I just don't think Shego needed that. Shego could have handled Kim with her eyes closed. And that's why I feel like it's crazy to me that she never freaking hurt Kim, like, seriously, or sent her to the hospital or fucking killed her, because she had the possibility to do that. So why? So I feel like the reason for that, in my opinion, is because nobody else could keep up with Shego. Like, Shego was a fucking tank. Like, there was so many other villains out there. Nobody could handle Shego. You got global justice. She was wanted in fucking 11 countries, and they couldn't do shit to her. But Kim was able to squabble with her and keep up with her, and actually keep up with her martial arts and her, her way of fighting. So it made sense that, okay, well, maybe she wanted to keep Kim alive around more, and maybe that's the main reason why she stayed with Draken, because she wanted to continue to fight with Kim. Like, that could be the reason why she continued with Draken, because come on, besides, even though the pay was amazing probably to be Draken's psychic, I still feel like Shego could have gone out there and done her own thing. There was no way or need for her to really stay with Draken. Like, a blue scientist whose experiments and whose plans are always failing and making them look ridiculous every single time. Like, why was Shego sticking around him so much? Like, and obviously in the beginning you can't say, well, she liked them. Like, I don't think Shego liked Draken until the very fucking end. And I think it's actually canon that they did get together but they broke up. So it's like, why was Shego sticking around Draken so much in the beginning? I firmly think it was definitely because she was interested in fighting Kim. I feel like you can tell they were having fucking fun squabbling on, like throwing each other on the floor and getting all over each other. You could tell they were having fun. So I feel like that right there is definitely material to use on a good fan fiction. Another thing is that Shego was always saving Kim's life. Like, Shego was saving, like, always. She was always like, I felt like she had like this sense of like, if I can't have Kim, nobody can. And I meant in the way of like fighting. Like, she was the one that always wanted to bring Kim down. So whenever Kim was like in a life or death situation, like, Shego would find a way to help her. Like, and I feel like, why do that? Because as much as you like to fight somebody, if that somebody is your enemy and they're about to be taken out, like, why would you stop that from happening? Obviously, maybe she's prideful. Maybe she's like, I'm the one that's gonna take down the great Kim Possible, and nobody else can do so. Like, maybe, but I just don't see her as being like that. I really don't see her as being that type of like that needy ass clingy person that's like, oh, I'm obsessed with taking her down. Like, I don't. I think Shego had a shit ton of fun squabbling with Kim because Kim definitely could keep up with her, but I don't think she was like obsessed, like super obsessed like that over like wanting to be the one to beat Kim. But it actually might be, because in that episode with the Wormagons, was it the Wormagons, that alien race that they came to like destroy, like they came to like take down the destroy the earth or whatever, and it was like the Wormagon, like the queen or whatever, she was beating the shit out of Kim. Like, who came to save her? It was Shego came and saved her. Like, again, she didn't have to do any of that. Like, why was she so worried about Kim dying? And another fact apparently is that Shego is weak to Kim's puppy dog eyes. Like, if we all know Kim Possible, this little girl right here with the red hair, she literally has a deadly ass puppy dog eye. She goes like, and she makes her eyes all watery and her pouty lips all pouty, and it's like Shego was like, okay, because like after the alien invasion of the Wormagons, I think I'm mentioning that right. If I'm not, I apologize. But after the alien invasion of the Wormagons, like it was Kim's prom night, so she wanted to make prom, but there was a shit ton of shit to clean up because obviously the fight took its toll on the city, and she actually was able to fucking convince Shego to clean that shit up just by looking at her and doing the puppy dog eyes. Like, I just feel like for two people who are supposed to be enemies and quote unquote hate each other, like, it's just, why would you fall for your enemy's puppy dog eyes? And it just doesn't make any sense why that would happen. And then obviously, I just feel like, in my opinion, their rivalry is interesting. I felt like it was the concept of the show to show their rivalry a lot. Because Kim had rivalry with what's this girl's face, the one who hated her in high school, Bonnie. Like, she had rivalry with her, but it was like her rivalry with Shego was like different. It was almost like they hated each other, but they respected each other. It's like almost like they had a code of honor. Like, we're gonna fight and we're gonna squabble, but it's gonna be a fair fight. So that's probably why Shego didn't really use her plasma powers as often, because they had kind of had like an unspoken like truce, like whenever we see each other, we're gonna fight as much as we can fight, and we're gonna do as much as we can do, but that's about it. Like, but that's about it, and we're gonna see who's the best. But overall, I think like Shego was definitely holding back a lot, and I just feel like it makes sense. It was Warmanga. So I was right. It was Warmanga. So then, but yeah. So I just feel like it definitely, these two characters definitely work, and I'm not saying that because I'm gay as hell myself, but I just feel like their characters would have definitely made a really good pairing. To be honest, I feel like Shego would have definitely have been a good addition to Team Possible. I feel like if she were to replace Ron, it would have been fucking amazing, honestly. But even if they didn't replace Ron and she just joined up, it would have been even better too. Because I feel like Kim always needed somebody to keep up with her. That was always my opinion. I felt like Kim needed somebody to save her. Like what would have happened if something crazy happened and somebody needed to save Kim? Like Kim was always the one doing the saving. What if she needed to be saved? Like would Ron have been able to save her? Like I don't 100%. I'm not 100% sure on that. And now let's get to the good one. Stop Team Go. I think that was the name of the yeah, I think that was the name of the episode. Season 4 episode Stop Team Go, and that was when Shego fucking turned good. She was hit by an attitudinator and she actually turned good. Like all her evilness disappeared. And then that is where we get the most interaction of these two characters. I always like to kind of analyze where a ship starts and where it ends. Like for Sutora, like I said in my past video, it was under Ba Sensei. For Korosami, it definitely was when Korra came back from that hiatus that she was in when she was like going through PTSD. And then we got Elsana. Honestly, that one is hit or miss. But then for KIGO, I definitely think that this is where most ships started, because a lot of stories that I've read on this pairing, they're always stories of what would have happened if this happened after the Attitudinator? What would have happened if this happened after Shego was bad? After Ron accidentally turned her back to being evil? Like what would have happened after this? So then in the Stop Team Go episode, this is where Kim and Shigo's relationship is crazy. Like, and I feel like I said again, this is definitely where I think was the start of KIGO. Because in this episode, Shego and Kim spent a hell of a lot of time together. Like they were like this. They weren't like this. They weren't like this or this. What about this or this? No, they were like this. Like Shego literally lived with Kim in that time as Miss Go. As we all know, Shego gets hit by the Attitudinator and all her evilness kind of dissipates, and the good part of her kind of takes over. So her and Kim start to get so close that even Ron's ass is jealous, bro. I like to think that jealousy only comes when there's actually something there. Like if you feel jealous for some reason, I'm not saying that the feeling of jealousy can't come out of nowhere for no reason, but I feel like a lot of times when somebody's jealous of something, it's because they either see something, sense something, or they have a feeling about something. So the fact that Kim and Shego were so close during this episode that Ron's ass got jealous. Like what was he seeing? What he was definitely seeing something. And I felt like Kim, as soon as Shego was up in her life, like good Shego, she forgot about Ron. Like she spent a lot of time with Shego. They went shopping, they went eating. Like do you see this picture right here? That was them as when Shego was turned good. And look at that heated eye contact. Look at that. Like you ain't telling me that a fanfictioneer like myself is not gonna exploit this to the limit. Look at that eye contact, bro. They were basically on a date. They were literally like hip to the hip. And Ron's ass was so goddamn jealous. But Kim didn't pay him any mind, bro. She still kept going out with Shego and doing all these things to Shego. She was giving Shego rides to school because, as we all know, when Shego turned into Miss Go, she actually turned into a teacher at Kim's school. So they were always together at the school. And it was just like, it was like a KIGO wet dream, bro. It was like a fanfictioneer's wet dream, that episode alone, because mind you, everybody was already shipping these two from the very beginning. So to see that episode, it was almost like the cherry on top of the cake. Like these two were literally going on dates, spending time together. Shego was sleeping at Kim's house. Like who's to say nothing happened? Because this heated eye contact is sus. Yo, sus. So in this one episode, we got to see a lot of what it would have been like if Kim and Shiko were to date, because they were doing a lot of coupley things, like riding to school together, seeing each other at school, going on dates, going out shopping, going out to eat. Like, okay, like fine, you could do that with your best friend, but like it just didn't make any sense because Kim, she literally like accepted Shigo, like regardless of the fact that Shigo was good, like I still feel like you can't forget that that's your enemy that you've been literally squabbling with, that could literally kill you any minute. Like that is your enemy. She wasn't at all worried that one day the Attitudinator was gonna wear off and she was gonna turn bad again and fucking fry her in her sleep. No, she wasn't worried. She humbly and open armedly accepted Shigo into her life, like off rip. And I swear to God, Kim has a best friend named Monique. Kim has a best friend named Monique, and even I've never seen them do all the stuff that Kim and Shigo were doing in that one episode where Kim turned good. Come on. And then obviously there was a lot of shit happening in that episode. Shigo's brothers got turned evil by the same Attitudinator that turned, because the Attitudinator was like a ray. So because Shigo was mostly that bad, it turned her good, and because her brothers were mostly good, it turned them bad. So then Kim and Shigo had to team up to basically take on her brothers, and that's when I saw like the team up of what Kim and Shiko would be like if they teamed up. Like they make a hell of a good team. Honestly, Shiko could teach Kim a thing or two. I always felt like Shiko was a lot more experienced in like fighting. I had never really knew how old Shiko was. I don't really think she was that old. I give her less, at 21 at most. That's what I give Shiko for age. But I feel like she wasn't really that old. So I feel like in the age category, they could have worked. Maybe after Kim graduated high school, because I know a lot of people frown upon underage dating a 21-year-old or whatever. So and then it's understandable. So I feel like if anything were to have happened between these two, it definitely would have been like after Kim graduated high school. Like maybe she went to college, and maybe her and Ron went to different colleges, and in one of those trips that she was doing, she ran into Shigo again. Maybe she would have still been with Draken. Maybe she still wouldn't have been with Draken. Like it's different. Honestly, there's so much material that you could use here. So then let's get into the nitty gritty. Here is the part that is like, I don't want to say or call this a confirmation, but I want to say it's the closest thing to a confession that we would have had in the show, if in case the writers wanted to go with it. But when everything was said and done, and the guy, the Abiaris, like I always get messed up with the name. That's the guy who built the Attitudinator. When he was like, taken into custody, and Shigo's brothers were fine. Like Shigo was still good. Shigo was still good. Like I just feel like Kim would have kept Shigo good. Like, do y'all think that Kim was thinking in her head, like, well, I know this is not the real Shigo. Like, I have to hit her with this ray so she could go back to being how she used to be. Like, do y'all think that crossed her mind? I don't think it did. I personally feel that she would have loved to keep Shigo good. And then if Shigo would have stayed good, they definitely would have been something. Either best friends or co-workers. I feel like, because she had like some nasty thing going on with good. Y'all remember the episode? She had like a little fling going on with Kim's like principal. I was like, eh. And then when they all went on that double date with Kim and Ron, and him and Shigo and the principal, like, I was like, so that actually kind of what made me question like how old Shigo was, because obviously she became a teacher, and then she started dating a principal, which obviously Mr. Barkin was like, he had to be up there in age. So for him to start dating Shigo, or for Shigo to have been interested in him in some way, shape, or form, like I feel like she definitely must have been at least close to his age, which then would make like the Kim and Shigo kind of age gap a hell of a lot big, because a lot of the times when I'm picturing these two being together, I always picture Shigo being either close to Kim's age, maybe a little older, but definitely not like fucking 10-year gap or 15-year gap or 20-year gap. And there is nothing wrong with that. I do not judge. There is nothing wrong with that. But I feel like that would have put a wrench into a lot of people's like mind about these two being together. So like I was saying, so then I personally don't think Kim had any intentions of turning Shigo bad again. I feel like Shigo being good would have benefited everybody, even her brothers. Like she built a relationship with her brothers again, because Shigo had lost contact with her brothers for like years while she was being a villain. So obviously Shigo being good benefited everybody. But then fucking Ron had to go and screw that up, bro. So what I'm talking about, the confession, is that when everything was said and done, Kim and Shigo went up to Kim and they exchanged some words, and then Shigo just said the words, and I quote, "I couldn't tell you this when I was evil, but dot dot dot." And that's when fucking Ron accidentally dropped the evil and the attitudinator. It hit Shigo, and boom, she goes back to being her villainous evil self. So she never got to say to Kim whatever it was that she needed to say. Now that could have been anything, but what could it have been? What is it that Shigo has in her heart that she wants to tell Kim, but because she's evil, quote unquote, she can't tell her? What could it have been? I just feel like what could it definitely could be many things. It could be like, for example, I couldn't tell you this when I was evil, but I've actually admired you a lot, and I think I see you as a potential friend, or as a friend, or a best friend, or whatever. Or could it have been another kind of confession, like, like it could have. And then after the attitudinator is destroyed and Draken out of nowhere comes and Shigo goes back with him, like at the end of the episode, you see Shigo holding like some pictures that her and Kim took in a photo booth, and she's longingly staring at him. And then when Draken comes up, she destroys them, or she she hides them or whatever. So it's like, what could it have been? And I freaking hated that we were never like told what it was that Shigo needed to tell Kim, like, or that Shigo couldn't tell Kim, whatever it was that Shigo couldn't tell Kim when she was evil. What could it have been? That is a question that will never be answered unless I literally reach out to the creators of the show and ask them, hey, what did you have in mind for this? What could it have been? What was it? Because that was never answered. And I feel like that right there is like why I feel like maybe Kim and Shigo could have been something, because that was the closest thing to a confession of something that I've ever seen from Shigo. And I feel like Ron accidentally turning Shigo evil again. Like, I still to this day feel like he did that shit on purpose, bro. Like, this man was jealous as hell of Kim and Shigo's relationship. So him accidentally dropping the ray and it hitting Shigo, like, I call cap. I call BS. I call sus. Sus. To the sus. To the sus. I don't think that, like, how, man? And what were you doing fiddling with that thing in the first place? Like, of all people, why was that machine in Ron's hand? You telling me that's not sus? And the crazy part is that I'm not the only one that thinks this, because in my adventures of exploring the KIGO fanfiction, a lot of the stories I read actually, like, they go to say that Ron might have done that on purpose because he was jealous of Shigo and Kim's relationship, and he was obsessed with having Kim to himself. And I would have 100% believe that's actually what happened, because it doesn't make any sense. Why did Ron have that machine in his hand? Why? The evil guy was taken into custody. Kim's brother, Shigo's brothers were fine. Kim was fine. She was fine. Ron was fine. Everybody was fine. So that machine should have been destroyed. Honestly, it should have been destroyed or taken by the police or by global justice. But why did this nigga Ron have that machine? Why? And then Kim and Shigo were literally standing side by side. Like, Shigo was about to tell something to Kim that was obviously important. So they were literally together. They were super close. Why did that ray just hit Shigo? Why didn't it hit Kim? But it hit Shigo. Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? It just does not add the fuck up. It just doesn't add up. And now we'll always be stuck with this question of, what was it that Shigo was gonna tell Kim? And that right there is open to interpretation. Maybe that is what the creators were trying to aim for. Maybe they already knew about KIGO, and they wanted to kind of, obviously they still need the views for the show, whether you're a KIGO fan or a Ron fan or whatever, like they still need the views for the show. So maybe that was their way of kind of giving us a little water to drink for the ship. Maybe that was their way of leaving it to open interpretation, so that we as the viewers, as the fans of the ship, can make our own story about it. Fan fiction is so big that I feel like the shows, the creators of the shows, even the actors, voice actors, everybody has to know that there's fan fiction being written about two characters. Like, for example, Swan Queen, which is the ship of Emma Swan and Regina Mills from Once Upon a Time. Like, they're always like being like asked questions and told about their ship. So obviously everybody knows what fan fiction is. Everybody knows about it. So I feel like maybe that was the creator's way of saying, okay, well, we can't make this happen, but let's leave a little breadcrumb there. Let's leave it open to interpretation and let the fans do whatever they want, or let the fans decide what it was that Shego wanted to tell Kim. And I feel like Shego definitely, the possibility of Shego telling Kim that she liked her more as something else than just a friend or a rival or somebody she respected. Like, I feel like that's, the possibility is not zero. It might not be a lot, but it's definitely not zero, considering that we never got an answer. Like, and that's the part that obsessed me the most about the show. That the Kim Possible was such a great show, but I just feel like, one, we never got to see how Kim learned her martial arts styles, and two, we never got to know what the fuck Shego was gonna tell her that day, like, because Ron had to ruin it. So it's just it doesn't make sense. So I definitely, going back to what I was saying, I definitely feel that this episode, Stop Team Go, I definitely feel like she was the start of KIGO. I personally feel like it was the start of KIGO. A lot of people might say, well, they've been squabbling for a while, and that, like, even like throughout other episodes, like, they've been already squabbling. They've been already getting on top of each other. A lot of, maybe the ship started for y'all then, but for me, in a deeper sense, I feel like it definitely started with in this episode right here, because I just feel like they definitely explore more of Kim and Shego together, and when two characters are together, for me, and they're not being influenced by outside forces, that's when I see their characters shine. So I feel like for Kim and Shego, that's what I saw in this episode. I saw them two being together, spending time alone, away from Draken, from Ron. Like, they spent like all this time apart, away from each other, away from them. So that right there gave me the room to see them more as what KIGO is, because I hate when they're inputting like these other characters into these two, and obviously they're being influenced. Draken was always influencing Shego. We gotta go do this, take over the world, whatever. And then Ron was always influencing Kim. Being the meek guy that he was, so he was always influencing her. So it was always like them two didn't really have time to see each other like that, unless it was like, aiming fists at each other. But then when you take away Ron and you take away Draken, like, and you just leave them two to just form a friendship, you actually see, like, damn, they can make sense. This ship could definitely 100% make sense. So I definitely love this ship, to be honest. So another thing is that in another episode, season 4's episode, Mad Dogs and Aliens, like, that was actually the episode of Warmonganda. Like, that was the episode of Kim using the Papila guys and convincing Shego to clean up a whole alien invasion. Mind you, Kim, with only Papila guys, was able to convince this badass woman who can literally turn anybody into toast. She was able to convince this badass woman to clean up a whole alien invasion just so she could go to her prom. Like, somebody clip this face. Somebody please take a screenshot of this face and make it into a meme. That's my "are you kidding me" face. Are you for real? it's just so now. Obviously, Kim Possible ended with Kim ending up with Ron, to the surprise of absolutely no fucking body. That kiss of them and Kim's freaking car flying away, whatever. Beautiful ending, Kim Possible, beautiful show. I definitely would recommend for whoever hasn't watched it to go watch it, and whoever has watched it to watch it again, because it's a really good show. And honestly, the reason I'm also behind this ship is because, come on now, Shego has been everybody's heartthrob from the very beginning. I don't give a damn if she was evil. I don't give a damn if she has green skin. This woman right here was literally probably the wet dreams of 90% of anybody who's watched this show. Like, she was a badass. Like, and so I imagine that shipping her with anybody will probably be great. But the most person I see her being shipped with is either Kim or Draken. Actually, and in craziness, I actually seen some of her being shipped with Ron. Like, in what world, bro? But hey, to each their own. I respect it. So it's crazy. And then Kim, I've seen her ship with Ron, of course, and then I've seen her Shego. Like, KIGO is literally the most like popular like show. Like not the show. Shego is literally one of the most popular femless ships in the show. And I actually read also, before I did this video, I actually read up that I guess like Shego's and Kim's voice actors, like, they got together at a cooking show or whatever, and then I think it was Kim's voice actor that asked Shigo's voice actor if, like, do you think that they would have successful non-toxic relationship, like, and I'm talking about Kim and Shego. Kim's voice actor literally asked Shigo's voice actor if Kim and Shego would have had a good, successful non-toxic relationship. So the fact that the voice actors are aware of this, like, that's the power of fan fiction. That's why I love it when people, like, they don't stop. They just keep on making fan fictions and talking about KIGO to the point that producers hear about it, creators of the show hear about it, voice actors hear about it. Like, that's how do you think Korrasami happened from Korra, the Legend of Korra? Because the Korrasami wave was so goddamn huge that they had no choice, bro. They had no choice. And I feel like I'm not saying that could happen with everything or every show, but I definitely feel like if Kim and Shego had more hype, like the KIGO had more hype, like, who's to say? Because that line, bro, of I wasn't able to tell you this when I was evil, but like that right there, that line right there just opens up a whole can of worms of possibilities. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I think Shego's, going back to what I was saying, Shego's voice actor said that she didn't think Shego was capable of having a non-toxic relationship, and that she loves to hate, or that she loves to love and loves to hate. Like, that's what Shego's voice actor said to that question. But it wasn't a no. It said she didn't necessarily say no. So hey, maybe she believed that maybe Kim and Shego could have worked out. I definitely feel like it definitely would have been hard because of the fact that, they were both in two different sides of the spectrum when it came to like good and evil. We had Kim, goody two shoes Kim, believing in everything good in the world, and then we got Shego, who was like, an anti-hero, like, and she was the villain. But that's why I think like their story would have definitely been pretty good, to go from enemies to acquaintances, friends to lovers. Like, I feel like it would have been nice to have been surprised, because I wasn't surprised with who Kim ended up with. Like, I really wasn't. So it would have been nice to be surprised, and this would have been one hell of a surprise. Next to Kim ending up with Bonnie, of all people. That's another ship I've actually read about, like Kim and Bonnie, But it's like, if you're gonna have Kim end up with a villain or with one of her rivals, you better fucking make it be Shego, not Bonnie, bro. They had a little squabble here and there about pom-poms and shit, but fucking Kim and Shego were brawling. These girls were brawling, fists were flying, plasma was flying, everything. So it's crazy. So moving forward, another thing that I wanted to talk about is like a few examples of fan fictions I've read about them. I obviously can't give the names, but I like to give a little bit of a brief description. So if you happen to run into it, please remember what I said and read it. One of my favorite ones, and this is gonna be weird as hell for a lot of y'all, but I feel like I like this fan fiction. I really liked it. So essentially, it was a fan fiction about, and it's gonna get weird, y'all. But mind you, I'm so open minded that I read anything, and if it's good, it's good. I don't care how weird it is. That's how I feel with Elsa and Anna from Frozen. Like, if the story is good, like it's good. I can't, no matter what the characters are, who they are, like it's good. So for this KIGO fan fiction, I basically read. It essentially was about. So Draken obviously came up with another world domination, or not necessarily world domination. He wanted to, this time he was more focused on getting rid of Kim herself instead of focusing on world domination. So he was focused on getting rid of Kim herself. So to do that, he kind of came up with like an injection of some sort, and he basically gave the injection to Shego and said, listen, when Kim Possible shows up to fight us, like, I want you to inject her with this when you're squabbling with her. Shego had no idea what the fuck it was. Like, she didn't know what the injection was. She didn't know what it did. She didn't know nothing. She just followed orders. She didn't question Draken, or I don't remember if she did, but he didn't tell her. So obviously Shego followed orders, and when Kim and Ron showed up to fight, Ron obviously went to handle Draken, and then Shego and Kim were squabbling as usual. You got the little flirting going on of them fighting and the nicknames, and then boom, Shego pricks fucking Kim in the arm with this needle. So then, at first nothing happened, and then everything went to shit. Draken's experiment or whatever he was doing there went to shit, and then him and Shego had to escape. And obviously nothing was happening with Kim. She went to get checked out. At first nothing was there, but then eventually like shit started happening to her body or whatever, and it had turned out that Draken had injected her with like some of Shigo's DNA, and that in itself caused her to become like something. So definitely a crazy, very crazy story. So then Shigo finds out about what that something is. She basically beats the shit out of Draken because she doesn't agree with that. She got so angry at him, she beats the shit out of him, throws him in jail, and then she goes to find Kim, and then her and Kim like talk, and she explains what happens, and it's just like their relationship obviously progresses from there. It was a great fucking story. Like, I don't want to give a lot of spoilers on this story because I feel like y'all need to go read it. Y'all need to go read the story. Sorry if I can't give names. Like, I don't want to promote anything. I like to give brief descriptions, but at the end of the day, the story is there and you'll run into it. If you're looking for KIGO material, you'll definitely run into the story if you remember this description. Remember that I said it's a good ass story. And then another story that I liked is more of like, this one's more of a supernatural sense. This one's actually, I can actually give the name to. It's called Visitors. It's on fanfiction.net. Very good story. I definitely recommend it. And in essence, is basically like, obviously Kim and Shego are still enemies, but then Kim and Shego find out that Kim's great aunt and Shigo's grandmother in the past had like a really, like, they were together, they were involved like romantically. And the crazy part is that in the past, Kim's great aunt Mim and Shigo's grandmother Shayla, they literally were the spitting image of Kim and Shego. So it was almost like an older, like 1800s Kim and Shego, their ancestors were together. So Kim and Shego find out about this, and the ghosts of Mim and Shayla actually come to request the help of Kim and Shego because there was some stuff going on. So, but then that's when they find out, like, oh shit, like they were together, So then eventually things happen, and they start, catching feelings or whatever. So that was another really good KIGO fan fiction. It's called Visitors, fanfiction.net. I recommend it 100%. I did not write it. All the fan fiction I talk about, I don't write. I would love to discuss with you guys like some fan fictions I've written. But that's gonna be in a future video. But for now, I'm focused more on like fan fictions that I haven't written. Um, Another good fan fiction is, this one's dark as hell. Like this one has a dark quality to it. So essentially, it happens after the Little Diablos incident, which is when Kim kicks Shigo into the electrical tower, and fucking Shigo falls and all that shit falls on top of her. So basically, that causes Shigo to become a little bit unstable up here in the head, and she essentially kidnaps Kim's parents. Like she cuts her hair, she escapes the authorities, cuts her hair, and then she goes to get revenge on Kim, and then she kidnaps Kim's parents. And when Kim goes to save them, like she goes beating the living hell out of Kim, and that's when Kim finally realizes, like, damn, you've been going easy on me. Like she's been going easy on me because, like I stated before, Shigo could easily kill Kim, like easily on God she could, but she doesn't. She chooses not to. So but then when Shigo was gonna deliver the final blow, like she kind of had like a moment of like sanity, and she decides not to kill Kim. And eventually, like, they just kind of like a lot of stuff happened. Like some guy is trying to take over the world, so Kim and Shigo have to team up, even though all that happened in the beginning. So it's like that one's dark. If you're into like very dark like shit, like I'm talking about like blood and killing and all that stuff, that's a very dark KIGO fan fiction that definitely you should read about. But there's like so many good ones. I've read fan fictions of Kim, like I said, being in college. She went to college. She joined up with Global Justice. So she works with Global Justice now, and she's older now, and they just meet. Kim and Shigo meet. Like I've just like after like forever. So I feel like there's so much material. There's so many good stuff to talk about when it comes to them too. If you like their stories on fanfiction.com or fanfiction.net or archiveofourOwn.org or where Wattpad, wherever it is that you decide to take to do your fanfictions. Every fanfiction I've read about KIGO, gold. And that's why it makes you ship them all the more, because I feel like if you already ship these two characters, but then you go and read fan fiction and the fan fiction's trash and the stories are not good, and the characters just don't match, or the story's not good, it's like makes you ship them less. But the fan fictions that I've read have been so good that I can't help but ship them. I ship 100%. I give this ship 100%. I ship Kim with Shigo 100,000,000%. Just letting y'all know right now. Like it's a ship that makes sense. I feel like they would have made a hell of a power couple. They would have taken down everything. It would have been a relationship where it would have to be worked on. Them two would have had to work hell like a lot to be in a relationship, because of the fact that, like I said, Shigo was a villain, anti-hero, and then Kim was a hero. So it's like one of them would have had to make the choice of, okay, I'm gonna become the hero, or I'm gonna become the villain. I feel like Shigo would have been the one to go into the good side, because I will never see Kim being able to turn evil or turn into a villain. I don't think that would have. I don't think so. But because Shigo had already been a hero in the past, who's to say she wouldn't have been able to be one again? And if Kim, with just a puppy dog power, was able to convince Shigo to clean up a whole alien invasion, I'm pretty sure Kim would have been able to convince Shigo to turn into a hero again, 100%. And maybe Shigo could have been a hero but doing her own thing. She didn't necessarily have to join Kim Possible in Team Possible with Ron or whatever, but she could have joined up with her brothers again, or become her own kind of superhero, or stayed a anti-hero but not be as villainous, So a lot of possibilities. That this ship is definitely this. I can definitely see why a lot of people ship this, and a lot of people definitely ship KIGO for sure. That definitely. But that's my rant for the day. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now, moving forward, I want to just give a little message to y'all. Like, I'm opening up the fanfiction playlist of mine. So as you notice, if you haven't noticed or you noticed, I changed it to otherworldly discussions instead of just fanfiction talk, because I want to make the playlist more open, more. I want it to vary more, not just fan fiction talk, but I want to talk about more things besides it. I want to talk about anime, cartoons, of course, fan fiction. I want to talk about movies. So it's gonna be like, if you're a nerd and you have something you want to talk about, then just let me know, and I would love to have a discussion live, or talk about it like this in a video. Like, for example, I want to make a video of The Legend of Korra versus Avatar: The Last Airbender. Which one of those series I like more and why. I want to make a video of why I like Superman better than Batman. I want to make a video about Dragon Ball Z and the impact it's had on my life. So it's like, I want to open up the playlist more. So it's just not gonna be fan fiction. And eventually, obviously, if the channel grows and I get some followers, some people to follow me and subscribe to me and comment, you guys can recommend me things that you want me to talk about. I could talk about literally anything. I'm a freaking nerd, especially the nerdiest thing you can think of. I'm a freaking nerd. I would love to talk about it. If you want me to talk about why Scarlet Witch is a badass, I would love to. I would literally make a video about it. So I just want y'all to know that that's the plans for the future. And then obviously I got my gaming on the side, so you'll see more of my gaming as well, more of my gaming content. But another thing I want to say, the next fan fiction talk I want to talk about is going to be, dun, 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 I'm gonna make a video. My next fan fiction couple for the channel is gonna be Daphne Blake and Shaggy Norbelt Roger from Scooby-Doo. That's gonna be my next talk on the fan fiction aspect. I want to talk about Shaggy and Shaggy and Daphne. Fuck Fred. That's gonna be the next fan fiction topic I'm gonna talk about for next time. But so yeah, keep that in mind. I will be talking about Daphne and Shaggy. So please subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all like KIGO? Do y'all hate KIGO? Y'all think Kim should be shipped with somebody else? Like, do you all like Ron? Please don't hesitate to comment questions or your thoughts. I will read every single one of my comments. Just letting y'all know right now. I will read everything and I will comment on everything, or heart it or whatever. But yeah, keep in touch. Make sure you subscribe, you like, so you can catch this Shaggy and Daphne. It's about to be a good one as well. So again, love y'all. Have a great night and see you, my other worlders, later.